tip this down a little bit. Hi, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. We're going to get started here in a second.
Do you see it over there okay?
Yeah, I think so. It's a different angle for today, but it's good to switch things up every once in a while.
On the table.
She put it there.
Oh, I put
That's
it
the reason why.
That was my doing. You gotta switch things up every once in a while. We are gonna go ahead and start in just a gentle seated position. And so if you guys wanna move to the center of your mat, so you kind of roll your shoulders a few times and kind of let them float down away from your ears. Maybe close your eyes or soften your gaze if that's comfortable for you. And then just take a nice deep breath. Begin to use your 5 senses to come into the present moment. Feeling the ground beneath you. Noticing the air in your lungs. Thinking about letting go of those thoughts as they come into your mind. And taking another deep breath. Just going at your own pace. First noticing that breath. Allowing it to slow. Noticing the fresh spring air that's coming in through the windows. The sounds of the birds chirping outside. Sounds of the organ as they practice. And another deep breath. And if you would like, you can go ahead and start to move your hands to the front side of your knees. And then just simply rock back and forth a little bit. You're going to open up your chest as you move forward. And then as you rock back, arch your back and tuck your chin. Again, just kind of going as far as feels comfortable to you. Just finding a little bit of movement here. Continuing to breathe as you do so. And coming back to center, settling in once more. I'm going to read for us a poem from Morgan Harper Nichols from her book that's titled All Along You Were Blooming. And this one is called What You Feel. It says, hold tight to hope amidst all unanswered questions. For even in uncertainty, there is strength to be found, and grace will still abound in what you do not understand. Under blue skies, on cracked rocks, in dry heat, in desert land, grace is the hand that is never out of reach, reminding you, you are not weak because you are lonely. And even if you have heard the word grace over and over again, and you think you already know what it means, there is grace for that too, humbly reminding you of its endlessness and how much you need it when you are lost in the wilderness. So do not be disheartened when the landscape is working against you, and do not think that you have failed when you are not sure you'll make it through. For this glorious, unmerited favor called grace will meet you where you are, giving you peace amidst your restlessness and safety from alarm. So taking another deep breath, we're going to go ahead and start to work one foot in front of the other, placing our hands on the mat in front of us, and then allowing ourselves just to kind of slowly bend down over that front leg. Tucking your chin if it's available to you. Taking another deep breath here. When you're ready, you can start to walk your hands back to center, switching whichever leg is in front. And then placing the hands on the mat in front of you again and starting to slowly walk your hands forward, draping your upper body over your lower body. Taking a nice deep breath. And then when you're ready, walking those hands back to center. We're going to go ahead and take this front leg, and if you can, we're going to turn it out to the side. If that's not available to you, then feel free to leave your foot just flat on the ground like this as well. We're going to take that opposite hand kind of diagonal behind the hip here. And then we're going to simply raise that right arm up toward the ceiling as we inhale. See if you can lengthen your spine a little bit. You'll notice that your lungs have a little bit more space in this position. Opening them up. And then go ahead and sweep that hand down. This time we're going to take that same knee that we folded the opposite direction. We're going to take that right foot and step it over top of the other knee. We're going to hug that right knee into our chest, getting a nice little mini spinal twist here. Really stretching deep into that right hip. Again, taking one more deep breath here. When you're ready, you can release that down. We're going to start over on the other side. So this time I've got my left foot in front. We're going to turn that knee the opposite direction. And take that right hand kind of diagonally behind the right hip. Just leaning back, but keeping the spine long, and then lifting that left arm up. Again, noticing the space that's created here in your lungs. Pausing, breathing. And then go ahead and sweep that left arm down. We're going to take that left foot, cross it over the right knee, and then pull that left knee into your chest. Again, just doing as much as feels comfortable to you. I love that poem that we read today. When I read through that poem, I think to myself about how grace is often a perspective shift for us. How we can see things through the lens of our own experience. And sometimes we need other people's perspectives. Or we just need to clear all of it out and gain a higher perspective. When you're ready, you can go ahead and release that all down. This time we're going to take that left leg and straighten it out to the side. We're still facing the long edge of our mats, or as long as we've got space to do it, that's fine. We're going to take this left hand to the inside and see if we can face this palm up as we inhale that right arm up, and then bend over top of that left leg. We're keeping that right hip anchored into the mat. So we're not coming up off the mat. And if you need to not come down as far, then please feel free to do that. You're paying attention to your body and the things that it's telling you. When we're ready, we're going to take those arms back down to the mat, switching sides. We're going to bring that left foot in, right foot out, taking that right foot, or right hand rather, down on the inside of that right leg, lift And then exhaling as we lean over. Taking another deep breath here. Coming back to center. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together. And then go ahead and either you can flutter those knees if you would like, if that's comfortable to you. You can also use your elbows to press those knees down into the mat if that's helpful. Or if you want, you can bring your elbows in front and then use your glutes to squeeze and pull those knees down toward the mat. Then you're getting a strengthening and stretching exercise there at the same time. Taking a deep breath. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and start to roll ourselves up, taking our hands to the outside of our knees. We're going to bring those knees together, sweep those feet to the side, and then come up onto all fours. I'll face this way since the camera's over here today. And here on all fours, just check in with your wrists that they're underneath your shoulders. Check in with your knees that they are underneath your hips. And we're going to start by doing a child's pose. So you're shifting your hips back over top of your heels as you stretch your hands forward, allowing your head to rest on the mat if you can. Or you can always make a couple of fists and rest your forehead on those fists. That's fine too. Just making it accessible for yourself. When you're ready, you're going to press your palms into the mat, pulling yourself up onto all fours. Here we're going to raise our left hand and our right foot, coming into extended table. Checking in with your hips that they're square to the mat. Checking in with your fingers and toes that you are pulling those in opposite directions. And checking with your head that you're not letting it hang down too far and that you're not holding tension in your neck by holding it up. It's just a nice natural extension of your spine. And then allowing all of that to float down to the mat. We're going to go ahead and shift our weight to the other side, raising our right hand and our left foot. Extending those limbs out long. Breathing deeply. Again, checking in with your hips, that you're not opening up to the side. You're down parallel to the floor. And then when you're ready, you're going to take that hand and foot, float it back down to the mat. We're going to shift our weight back over top of our ankles, stretching our hands forward into child's pose once more. Taking some deep breaths. When you're ready, we're going to go ahead and bring ourselves back up to all fours once more. This time we're going to tuck our toes. And we're going to lift our knees up off of the mat first. And then we're going to walk ourselves back onto our feet. Almost like we're pushing ourselves back into a chair pose here with our fingertips on the mat if you can. If not, then feel free to support yourself by leaving your hands on your knees. And then very slowly round yourself up into a mountain pose back at your mat. Very good. When we're ready, we're going to start to step forward with our right foot. We're gonna turn that back foot so that way we are perpendicular in stance. So our right toes are pointing toward the short edge of the mat, left toes are pointing toward the long edge of the mat. Our tailbones are softened down, and then we're gonna bring our arms up into warrior two. And we're gonna transition from this pose into I forget what this one is called. We're gonna straighten our leg, drop the back arm, lift our right arm up toward the ceiling, or whatever this pose is called.
Reverse?
Reverse warrior, thank you. And then when you're ready, you're gonna tip those arms back down, bending that front knee, coming back into warrior two. And then when you're ready for your inhale, go ahead and straighten that front leg, drop the back arm, lift that right arm up. And then when you're ready for your exhale, go ahead and tip those arms down, bending that front knee once more. And then just go ahead and take maybe 5 or 6 of these at your own pace. Inhaling for reverse warrior, exhaling into warrior two. See if you can think about opening up those lungs as you move from position to position. You're gonna feel that in different spaces as you oscillate between those two. So here in warrior two, you might feel space up here in your chest as you do that pose. When you tip your arms up, you might feel space more in your lungs like we started with in our warm-up. When you've done your last one, meet me down in warrior two. Taking some deep breaths. Our arms are probably getting a little tired now. We're gonna straighten that front leg. We're gonna turn both sets of toes toward the long edge of the mat. And then we're gonna turn those left toes toward the short edge of the mat. And then we're gonna bend that front leg. So we're doing warrior two on the other side now. This side again, also straighten that front leg. Bring the left arm up as you inhale, and then go ahead and exhale down into warrior two. Again, oscillating between those two. Inhaling as you come into reverse. Exhaling as you come into warrior two. Probably doing at least 5 or 6 of those at your own pace. And again, thinking about opening up the lung space today. Just a couple more. When you've done your last one, go ahead and meet me in warrior two. When we're ready, we're going to straighten that left leg, turn the toes toward the long edge, and then fold forward over top of the wide open A stance. Taking some nice deep breaths here. If this is too hard on your hamstrings, you can start to turn your toes out just slightly, just getting a little bit of a different angle. If it feels good with your toes turned toward that long edge, feel free to stay there. And then when we're ready, we're going to go ahead and start to walk over to the right foot, intensifying that stretch on the right side, but then also focusing on this left side body space, really opening that up, even as you contract in through the right side. When you're ready, we're going to walk our hands slowly, first back to center, and then continue on over to the left side. Taking some deep breaths here. Really opening up that right side body even as you contract in through the left. And then walking back to center. This time, if your toes are not already turned out at a little bit of an angle, go ahead and turn those out slightly. We're going to go ahead and drop our hips a little bit here, and then lift our upper body, bring our hands to our heart center for goddess pose or horse riding pose here. We're going to inhale and extend our arms out to the sides as we straighten our legs. And then as we exhale, we're going to bend those knees, coming back down to center. Again, doing 5 or 6 of these at your own pace, following your own breath. Feeling the strength of those legs. Feeling the extension of the arms. Almost done. And then when you're done, you can meet me here in our goddess pose. We're going to take those hands back down to the mat. We're going to extend the legs, turning the toes back toward the long edge of the mat. Taking a nice deep breath here. Here we're going to try something a little different. I'd like for you to walk your hands out kind of away from your body slightly, tucking your chin so that way your upper body is almost in like a downward facing dog sort of position. And your feet are still in wide open A. So you should feel a stretch in through your arms and in through your mid-back and around the backside of your shoulders. This is kind of intense for your hamstrings. So again, if you need to bend your knees here, or if you need to turn your toes out a little bit to make that more accessible for yourself, please do that. And then when you're ready, we're going to go ahead and walk those hands back to center. Start to heel toe those feet together. We're going to bend those knees, placing our hands on our knees, and very slowly rounding ourselves up. We're going to do our balancing postures a little bit earlier in our practice today. And so we're moving into those. If you need to move to a wall or to a chair, feel free to do that. These socks are really slippery on this floor, so be safe here. Okay, so we're going to start again in our mountain pose, making sure that our feet are hip width apart. Making sure that all 4 corners of our feet are pressed into the mat, and then let those toes kind of float down. And then thinking about that really solid base, allowing that good base to kind of travel up through our body. So our hips then are over top of our ankles, and our tailbones are softened down. And then think about elongating the spine, allowing those shoulders to come down. And then think about elongating the neck, reaching the crown of the head up toward the ceiling. Feeling in our body that alignment. Making sure that our arms are just restfully hanging down from our shoulders, that we're not holding extra tension in those arms. And first, just taking a deep breath here. When we're ready, we're going to start to shift our weight to the left foot, drawing that right foot in, like a little kickstand. For our tree pose, we're then going to take our hands to our heart center here. And it helps me often to find a spot on the floor to focus on, or a spot across the room to be able to focus on to help with my balance. If that's not helpful for you, then feel free to leave that. Just let that float on by. But if you're here and you want to explore a little further, you can start to bring that right foot up to a position that feels comfortable to you. And as you do that, I'm going to encourage you to think again about your alignment. So thinking about all four corners of your feet touching the mat, thinking about your ankle and your hip being in alignment, your tailbone being softened down, your spine being lengthened, the crown of your head reaching up toward the ceiling. And then if you would like, here, you can extend your arms out to either side or up toward the ceiling in whatever position feels comfortable to you today. Continuing to breathe, then folding those hands back in toward your heart center, and then gently stepping out of that back into our mountain pose, releasing the hands down. Again, thinking and being mindful of our alignment. And then when you're ready, start to shift your weight to the right side, drawing that left foot in as a kickstand, bringing those hands to heart center. And then here, again, if you would like, you can start to bring that left foot up to a position that feels comfortable to you. Drawing that belly button in towards your spine. Using that core for stability. And then here, if you would like, you can go ahead and extend those arms out to whatever position you would like, whether that's up toward the ceiling, whether that's cactus arms, or keeping those hands at heart center. Again, focusing on that alignment, lengthening your spine. And then drawing those hands back into center, stepping out into our mountain pose, releasing the hands down. And then again, coming back into alignment. And while we stand here in our mountain pose, we're going to take a little pause, and I'm going to read for us our poem once more today. So if you need to move to sit or to take a different position with your body, feel free to do that. The poem says, "Hold tight to hope amidst all unanswered questions. For even in uncertainty, there is strength to be found, and grace will still abound in what you do not understand. Under blue skies, on cracked rocks, in dry heat, in desert land, grace is the hand that is never out of reach, reminding you, you are not weak because you are lonely. And even if you have heard the word grace over and over again, and you think you already know what it means, there is grace for that too, humbly reminding you of its endlessness and how much you need it when you are lost in the wilderness. So do not be disheartened when the landscape is working against you, and do not think that you have failed when you are not sure you'll make it through. For this glorious, unmerited favor called grace will meet you where you are, giving you peace amidst your restlessness and safety from alarm." So when we're ready, we're going to start to gently move ourselves to the back of our mats. Still in a standing position here. We're going to do our next little flow. So this time we're going to step forward with our left foot. We're going to turn that back foot out to the side. So again, we're perpendicular to each other, raising our hands up into our warrior two pose here. Taking a nice deep breath here, and then when we're ready, we're gonna straighten that leg, allow the back arm to drop, reaching up toward the ceiling with that left hand. Then coming back down into warrior two, bending that front knee. This time, leaving our knee bent, we're gonna drop both hands down to our tailbone, interlacing the fingers behind and pulling down to open up the chest as we look up. Really opening up that lung space again. And when you're ready, we're going to release that, bring our arms back up into warrior two. And then straightening that front leg, dropping the back arm, lifting the left arm up again. This time we're gonna bend that knee deeply and take our hands all the way down to the mat as we allow that back heel to come up off of the mat. Coming into our runner's lunge position here. We're gonna step that back foot in slightly and straighten that front leg, coming into our triangle pose. If you can, go ahead and tuck your chin, deepening that stretch on the front leg. Bending that front knee, we're gonna go ahead and step that back foot back again, coming into our runner's lunge once more. And we're gonna blade that back foot. So that means we're turning it perpendicular to the front foot. And then we're going to lift our upper bodies up into warrior two once more. Reminding ourselves to keep our shoulders down away from our ears. Straightening that front leg, dropping the back arm, lifting that front arm. Taking a nice deep breath. And then coming back into our warrior two once more. This time, we're gonna straighten that front knee, and then we're gonna turn both sets of toes toward the long edge of the mat, folding all the way forward once more. Noticing any changes that you may feel in this position as opposed to when we started. Walking your hands over to that left foot, we're gonna go ahead and bend that left knee deeply, allowing the right foot to come up off the mat. The right toes are pointed up toward the ceiling. Coming into our flying monkey pose. If you would like to extend your arms out in front for a little balance, feel free to do that. And then taking those hands back down to the mat, extending that left leg all the way up, turning both sets of toes toward the long edge of the mat, and then folding forward for wide open A. This time we are heel toeing our feet together once more. Bending our knees deeply, placing our hands on our knees, and then slowly rounding ourselves up. Head is the last thing that comes into place. And then stepping back to the back of the mat, we're gonna take the other side. So I'm gonna step over here so I can face you all. We're gonna step forward with that right foot this time. And then we're gonna blade the back foot. So we're perpendicular in our stance. Lifting our arms into warrior two. Pausing here first. Checking in with your feet, that all four corners are still pressed into the mat of that front foot, and that that back edge of your foot is really pressed into the mat. Then straightening that front knee, drop the back arm, lift the front arm as we inhale. Pause here for a breath or two. And coming back down into warrior two. Then straightening that front leg, dropping the back arm, taking that right hand up toward the ceiling. This time we are bending that front knee deeply, allowing the hands to come all the way down to the mat, allowing that back heel to come up off of the mat for runner's lunge on the other side. Thinking about straightening that back knee. And then stepping that back foot in slightly, straighten that front leg, folding down over top of that front leg for a triangle on the other side. Taking a nice deep breath here. We're going to go ahead and bend that front knee, step that back foot back into runner's lunge once more. And we're going to blade that back foot, pressing the outer edge of the foot into the mat. As we press our feet into the mat, we're going to rotate our arms up, back into warrior two. And straightening that front knee once more, we're going to drop the back arm, lift the right arm up. So inhale, and then exhale back down into warrior two. This time straightening that front knee, we're going to turn the toes toward the long edge of the mat, then fold forward all the way down to the mat. Again, walking our hands over to the right foot this time, bending that right knee deeply, allowing the left toes to come up toward the ceiling for flying monkey on the other side. If you would like, you can take your arms out in front of you for a little bit of balance. Breathing deeply. And placing your hands back on the mat, straightening that right leg fully as we allow the left toes to come back down to the mat, centering ourselves, and then folding forward once more and wide open. We're going to heel toe our feet together. And then once again, bend our knees deeply. Place our hands on our knees. And then very slowly round ourselves up. Coming back into mountain pose here. I mentioned earlier today that when I think about this poem about grace, I often feel like grace is a perspective shift that we need. And I had a funny moment on my way to work this morning. I was driving along and I saw all these little robins flitting about, they're hopping and they're gathering things. And one of them had in its little beak a whole bunch of grass. And as I was going by, it looked at me and the grass was just hanging out either side of its mouth. And it looked like a little mustache.
It was a male.
Maybe it was. He said, I need a mustache. But I just thought, perspective is so important, right? Like I could look at that if I had no perspective of what robins are, what they do. I might think that that is what a robin is. It has a long mustache to it. But sometimes those perspectives need to be shifted. So the invitation for today for us is to ask, where does my perspective need to be shifted? So with that, we're going to move back down to our mats. Just nice and slow. Sitting nice and tall in a simple seated position once more. Again, the invitation to ask that question. And take a few moments to breathe here first. If it's helpful for you as you recover your breath after our active portion for today, if you have ever heard the sounds of the waves, and if that's a relaxing or restful sound to you, think about matching your breath to that sort of rhythm. And when you're ready, we're going to move again one foot in front of the other, placing our hands on the mat in front of us and then walking those hands slowly forward. When you're ready, you can start to walk your hands back towards your body. So this time sitting nice and tall, taking those hands behind your back, clasping them together, and then pulling down at your tailbone, opening up the chest. And then releasing that forward, this time switching whichever leg is in front. Go ahead and take our hands to the mat in front of us, walking those hands forward slowly. Bending down over top of those lower legs. And this time walking hands back towards center. Again, sitting nice and tall. Again, elongating that spine and taking those hands behind, clasping them together, then pulling down at your tailbone, opening up the chest once more. Taking another deep breath. Releasing those hands down. We're going to extend that right leg out this time. Leaving the left leg folded in. We're going to take the left hand behind the left hip. And if you can, we're going to lift our hips up toward the ceiling as we balance on that right heel and on our left knee. So that looks like this. And then if you can arch back a little bit as well, really stretching open that right side body and the right lung space. And then setting those hips down and then turning toward the long leg, the extended leg, and then folding over top of that extended leg. Stretching out the one side on your low back. Also your hamstring here. And then walking those hands back to center. We'll take the other side, extending the left leg out, pulling that right leg in. And take that right hand behind the right hip at an angle, lifting up onto the left heel and the right knee as you bend back and inhale. Really opening up that left side body. Breathing into that lung space. And then setting those hips down gently, extending over top of that lengthened leg. Tucking the chin, releasing those little muscles in your neck and shoulders. And walking your hands back to center, taking the soles of your feet together. Coming into our butterfly pose. Again, if you would like to bounce your knees, or you can fold forward and use your elbows to help those knees down toward the ground. Just making this pose accessible to yourself. And then slowly rolling yourself up a little bit. We're gonna keep our feet together. We're just gonna push them out away from our body, almost more like a diamond shape here in front of us. And then feel free to fold forward once more. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and start to roll yourself up again. This time we're going to shift ourselves around on our mat so that way we can come to a lying down position. I'm going to encourage you to keep your feet on the mat about hip width apart. Bringing your arms down alongside your body. We're going to do some bridge poses here. So pressing your feet into the mat, we're going to draw our hips up toward the ceiling, creating a long line between our shoulders, through our hips, toward our knees. Just this nice diagonal here. Checking in with your knees that they are still over top of your ankles. Checking in with your core, that your stomach muscles are still engaged. Checking in with your feet, that all four corners are planted onto the mat. You're not rolling out to either side or on the edges of your feet. And then very slowly roll that spine back down onto the mat. Tailbone should be the last thing that comes down. Once you've released your tailbone down, drawing those knees in toward your chest. And rocking back and forth. Cross that low back if you would like. Come back to center here. We're going to take that left foot back down to the mat. We're going to cross that right ankle over top of the left knee. I'm going to draw that right knee down toward the mat. And then if you would like a little bit more in this position, you can draw those legs in toward your chest for reclined pigeon pose. Again, inviting yourself to think about the question that we asked today. What areas of my life or where might I need a perspective shift? When you're ready, you can release both feet down to the mat. This time you're taking that left ankle over top of the right knee. Again, drawing that left knee down toward the mat. And when you're ready, you can pull those legs in towards your chest for reclined pigeon pose on the other side. Breathing deeply. When you're ready, you can release both feet back down to the mat. And you can either heel-toe your feet together and bring the soles of your feet together, allow the knees to fall open down toward the mat for reclined bound ankle. If this is not comfortable for you or if it's not accessible to you, feel free to just take your legs, extend one down at a time for our final relaxation pose. I'm going to read our poem for us one more time as we relax. And so again, feel free to shift your body into a comfortable position as I read this one more time. It says, hold tight to hope. Amidst all unanswered questions, For even in uncertainty, there is strength to be found. And grace will still abound in what you do not understand. Under blue skies or cracked rocks and dry heat and desert land, grace is the hand that is never out of reach, reminding you, you're not weak because you're lonely. And even if you have heard the word grace over and over again, and you think you already know what it means, there's grace for that too. Humbly reminding you of its endlessness and how much you need it when you are lost in the wilderness. So do not be disheartened when the landscape is working against you. And do not think that you have failed when you are not sure you'll make it through. For this glorious, unmerited favor called grace will meet you where you are, giving you peace amidst your restlessness and safety from alarm. We'll take just a few minutes of quiet, and then I'll call us back together when you're ready. When you're ready, you can start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. If you are still in that reclined bound angle, take your hands to the outer thighs and help your knees together. And you can roll to one side and gently push yourself up into a seated position. We'll draw our hands to heart center. And we'll just close with this. May grace go with you today. Namaste. Thank you, Alma.
Great.